Three-time world champion Ayrton Senna was leading the San Marino Grand Prix when his car crashed at more than 300 kilometers an hour. Senna's death was the second in 2 days.
The race started ominously when Leto and Lamy crashed on the grid. 7 spectators were hurt by flying debris, 1 seriously. Back on the track, on the 7th lap, the worst happened. Senna was leading when his car went off sideways. It hit the wall at near maximum speed. The 200 miles an hour crash was chillingly similar to the one which killed Roland Ratzenberger yesterday. As medical crew tried to treat the driver, the massive extent of his head injuries became apparent. Shocked Williams' teammates waited for news, while at trackside doctors operated to clear Senna's airways so he could be airlifted to hospital. But it was all in vain. 4 hours later, he died. The race was restarted, but for the winner, there was nothing to celebrate.
The only thing I can say about this is I hope we learn from this. I think there is a lot to learn from, and we have to use this. And things like this, they shouldn't happen without taking the experience from it.
And before this, regulations removed some of the technological safeguards from the sport in favour of driver skills. Senna had warned those changes made the sport too dangerous.
He was the most professional and most competitive of Formula One drivers. Perhaps too much so. 5 years ago, he was disqualified for colliding with his teammate Alain Prost in Japan. This year, with Damon Hill at Williams, he was unarguably the best driver with the best car. But this season, the cars are different. Many electronic aids have been banned. Active suspension, for example, which keeps the cars close to the ground and therefore faster, despite the road surface, is now outlawed. As is traction control, which puts power onto the road smoothly. Without it, the wheels tend to slip. The crashes at Imola, starting with Rubens Barrichello's spectacular smash on Friday, are bound to prompt a re-examination of whether these changes have made Formula One less safe. The death of Roland Ratzenberger yesterday added urgency to these deliberations. Senna himself had said the changes were a great error and warned of really serious accidents. Some experts believe some tracks, including Imola, are just too fast. The questions will come later. Now there's just the shock of Senna's death.
And Senna is second only to Pelé as Brazil's biggest sports star, and in Senna's honour, the President of Brazil has declared 3 days of mourning, and there'll be more on Ayrton Senna in Homes. Cause of the accident that cost Ayrton Senna his life, but it's already signalling it considers Formula One cars are too fast, and that drivers will have to cut speeds if they want to reduce the risks. Brazil is preparing a hero's farewell for Senna, but his death has shocked sports fans all around the world.
At Williams' Didcot factory gate today, tributes to the driver widely acknowledged as the best of his time. As deeply as he was respected and will be missed by British-based fans, however, the grief in Brazil is more profound. The government has declared an official 3-day period of mourning. Senna was the country's #1 popular hero. The national sense of loss is overwhelming. Frank Williams, the company chairman, arrived in the early afternoon. Deeply shocked, he was unable to comment personally, but issued a statement.
His loss is impossible to quantify. Everyone who has ever met him in whatever capacity feels they have lost someone very special.
Still no answers, only questions about the cause of the accident, which happened at almost 200 miles an hour with Senna apparently powerless to control the car. No clues so far of driver or mechanical failure.
We must follow the procedure of speaking to everybody concerned, returning the car here, and looking long and hard at all the information we can possibly amass before we can really make any formalised statement.
The International Automobile Federation will do the same after a catastrophic weekend of 2 fatalities and this enormously lucky escape on Friday of Rubens Barrichello. Formula One's new rules this season banning computer-controlled systems are under intense scrutiny, but blameless, says the Federation.
There's no conceivable connection between the accident he had and the regulations. The fact that the cars are difficult to drive, Grand Prix cars are supposed to be difficult to drive. If you make them easy to drive, all that happens is people drive them faster and the accidents are bigger. We spend our lives trying to slow the cars down. The engineers spend their lives trying to speed them up.
National hero Ayrton Senna. He was buried in Sao Paulo amidst a huge outpouring of grief. As Paul Patrick reports, Senna was laid to rest with all the honours normally reserved for a head of state.
It was the highest tribute Brazil could have given Senna, full military honours. From the fly-past by the nation's Air Force to the scattering of petals over his coffin, this was a day of mourning for all Brazilians. His family blamed motor racing chiefs. Today their grief was impossible to hide. Also in mourning was Frenchman Alain Prost. Often Senna's most bitter rival, today Prost, along with the head of the Williams team, Frank Williams, lamented the loss of a champion. For the second day in a row, Sao Paulo was at a standstill. Hundreds of thousands of people lined the streets as Senna's body was taken to the city's cemetery on top of a fire engine. And at the end, some of the men Senna can be compared with, the greats like Jackie Stewart, Emerson Fittipaldi and Prost, took their colleague's coffin towards his grave. It was the final tribute for a legend. As one Brazilian commentator said, the man has died, the myth has just begun.
And Senna's death will cost insurance companies their biggest payout for any sports star, around $30 million.